I am Alex
Turner,
Davis.
I'm 22.
Recently, just studying and going to work.
Go to class.
Sometimes trying to chill with friends.
Work.
Okay, well, holistically, my ultimate goal and kind of passion is to work with like kids and somehow help them. And with that, I'm studying criminology. I'm on a pre-law track, and so what inspired me to work with youth all the time is my parents. They were always hands-on with the youth in our church, and
do whatever you need to do.
family members always taking people into the house and doing whatever they could to help others, especially those who were less privileged.
I want to do
I guess
something that
innate
make you
in me
smile,
to
make you
want to
happy.
do that
You want
same
to talk,
thing
we can talk.
because I
Whatever that
enjoy
might be.
watching
For
people
me, it's a
grow.
passion.
And so
I
to
just
combine
wanna
those
make
two things,
someone's
the
life
law
better.
and
Growing
my
up,
interest in youth,
a lot of friends I
inspired
had
me to do that.
in the inner city of Cincinnati, they didn't know what was out there, and I didn't know what was out there either until I moved to Sims Township, until I changed schools. I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know what was for me. I didn't know anything until I had the opportunity to get that information.
Now I'm majoring in social work and minoring in American Science. Then, when I went to ministry, saw other people struggling with the same thing.
Like, for example, I believe Cincinnati is a very segregated city. You have areas in which it is 95% white and areas in which it is 95% black, which also means because you go to the school in which you're in the area you're living in, the schools are like that too. And because we're like still really segregated and whatnot, that also alludes to racial issues because when I go to the school that I went to in high school, Sycamore High School, in which it was 90% white, and that is true, I looked it up, and with the school like that, and when they see an African American, and if they say something that seems a little strange to me and I try and call them out on it, and they don't think much of it because they don't know or they haven't experienced being around other African Americans and things like that. So it's still prevalent and it can be very subtle.
Language to learn.
I personally feel obligated to help.
I think everybody has a purpose.
My high school was very active, so I spent more time in the neighborhood that my high school was in as opposed to the neighborhood I lived in. And at the time, my high school was in the third dangerous neighborhood in Cincinnati, which was over the Rhine, a decade ago. And with it being a diverse school, you learn a lot of things, you learn a lot of different cultures. But I didn't really see, especially when you say you're moving into the corporate America thing, I didn't really see the difference until I tried to get a job, like a suit and tie job. And literally, people would literally ask me for my life story. They was like, wow, you're an African-American male between the ages of like 18 and 25 with no kids, no record. You can speak in complete sentences without being for real. And people were like, older white people were like literally flabbergasted at the fact that I knew how to play this game. And I don't know if it was sad at the fact because of that. But also, the flip side of this racism too, if you can be that quote unquote token black person, there is a lot of privileges in that too. And I guess posing another question is, how do you play that game? Because, they have laws where they need certain number of ethnic people. Mm-hmm. So the question is, do you go ahead and just play that game? It might be a little selfish, but do you play that game of being the one black person to make it? Or do you call it out? Because there's definitely going to be more repercussions for calling it out the racism.
Man, that's a good question though. That's a really good question. How do you beat that? Because me, I honestly wouldn't mind being that black guy, but then while I'm there, hopefully helping someone else get there too. Right. Because I think one of the problems with black people is that we get there and then don't help other people else get there too. So, as white people, they always have people, they're training people up, ready to go. So, exactly. So, I think that's how you beat that thing. You get in there, you may be the only black there, but then you say, okay, well, I'm going to try to go back and get some of my other brothers there too. So. Or whatever, so they're trying to so I think
so they don't understand how messed up it is.
Going to Woodward High School in Cincinnati, I didn't have to do anything. I went to school, did whatever they told me to do, went home, played around. Didn't have to do anything.
For me,
And then once I
although
went
we
to
were both living
Sycamore
in
High School,
Roselawn,
it was a challenge.
I was
I
seen
had
as the white
to-
kid of the
I had to
neighborhood
have the grades.
because I listened
and
to Linkin Park.
not
I
just
talked
for me,
proper.
'cause
And
I saw
I mean,
that
I just wasn't always interested in the same
I
stuff
I have to do something.
majority
they're
of the
looking at me.
African
They're
community was
like, oh,
interested
well,
in.
she can't do it.
That had
And-
it wasn't like
and then
we
it was-
didn't get
then
along
it
for
made
it or
it
anything
sound
like
like it was
that,
other
but
African
it would be
Americans
annoying. It's already
not doing
annoying
it.
enough when a
Had
white
the
person
privileges.
says, "Oh, you
In
talk
the
different."
school system
It's
for
even more annoying
years,
when someone of
whooping
my own
the school
community and
system,
race
and
comes
still
over to
didn't
me
do
and
anything.
says, "You
So,
talk
it's
white."
that's
people
another
back home,
huge
they
thing
so
too.
So
Like
when
black
I
people calling
moved
out
to
each other, like,
Sycamore
oh,
in
you
a
know,
predominantly
you don't even
white
black, you
neighborhood
yellow,
in
you know,
which
you ain't even,
everyone
you
told
know,
me
you
that
ain't
that's
even black.
what I
You go to a white
was.
school, you don't know what it means to be black.
Black on the
Like
outside and
what?
white on the
Like you know,
inside.
so
I thought, maybe
so
I'll
that's
fit
a
in
that's another whole
here a
that's
little bit
another
better.
whole issue
But
in itself.
in reality,
Like you know,
I
what
didn't
it-
fit in there either because
means
I
to be
actually
black,
felt
what it means to be
extremely
white. So,
uncomfortable.
change, but don't
I
erase
remember the
change
first
the
day I
world.
got on the bus and
I
I
just-
was
I
on
was-
that
I was-
bus and I never
that I
even
can
thought of
do
it.
it. If you can do it,
Thought of
and show
anything
the
of
white
it.
people
Like
these younger generations are being more
When
open
ours
and
doing the
experiencing
25-year-old of today
diverse,
becomes
you know,
the
schools
45-year-old
and things like that.
person of
But
tomorrow, I think
like,
change
you know,
really come
really
because
honestly and truly,
people that grew
corporate
up now
America,
doesn't have real
higher
racism.
authorities,
Like,
government, and things like that
50-year-old
still
person
has
today. They didn't
a
grow
lot
up
of
with
ways to go
obvious
if we want
blocks
to really
to
say that we're
overcome
diverse and we're
things,
open.
you know,
and
not
we're
being able to ride a bus and things like that. So
welcoming to
people are a
everybody.
lot open. Same thing with gay marriage and things like that. People are way more open to people being different.
At the end of the day, I feel like
yeah, like certain stuff that not
Deal with the
everyone else
BS
likes.
from
But
just
But
to make it
I
work.
learned in college now. I actually have this hunger to be a part of every different race and ethnicity. Like it's beyond just black and white. And I think that's because in Cincinnati, as I talked about it being kind of segregated, you only see black, white. In Columbus, where I go to school, there's Ethiopians, there's Somalians, Haitians, Ghanaians. I mean, like, that's truly diverse.
Yes.
Diversity means more than just black and white.
Right,
There's so many ethnicities and whatnot in the Columbus community that aren't here in Cincinnati. That now and it makes me more freeing to kind of just be like, take everybody in. Although I have, and I take
All right, you know what?